you can see where the fan base is split on Kyler.
For sure.
A great athlete. I'm not sure he's a great quarterback. I'll put it this way. I think if this past season, if Kyler Murray would have had the season that Jacoby Brissett had, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
And this is what's getting me seeing red. Jimmy Garoppolo, get that name off the board. Erase it.
If the Cardinals pick Jeremiah Love at 3, a couple things would have to happen.
Going through
Read them off.
the NFLPA scorecard. So a treatment of families for the Arizona Cardinals.
And he'll go again. And this is intercepted. That is Rob Fredrickson. He's taking it into the end zone. Touchdown, Arizona.
Welcome back to episode 7 of the Seein Red Podcast. I'm your host, Kate Fredrickson. Alongside me, my co-host, Rob Fredrickson, 4 years with the Arizona Cardinals. In today's episode, we got some pretty big things to talk about. We're going to go over Kyler Murray parting ways with the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to take our big takeaways from the NFL Combine. We're going to go over the draft talk with pick number 3. And then we're going to wrap up with a Q&A. So make sure you guys follow us on Instagram, TikTok, follow us on X, and subscribe here on YouTube. Turn on the bells for more notifications. And make sure you guys comment down below. We appreciate all your support. Pops?
Tell them about the prize.
Yes. Okay. Last episode, we mentioned there's a 1K giveaway, and we took some thoughts in the comments, and we talked about it amongst ourselves. We're doing a signed football from Rob Fredrickson right here. 9 years in the NFL. Okay, so that's a 1K subscriber giveaway. So if you haven't yet already, subscribe to the Seein Red Podcast, share it with a friend, and have him subscribe as well. And then once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we'll pick a random subscriber in the comment section of that episode, whatever week that is. And then that will be the lucky winner.
Hopefully it will not devalue the ball, but looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting to 1,000.
Yeah. Streets, what's the mood in the room?
Hey, look, the mood is a little uplifting today. I'm back in the gym.
Yes.
I've been out of the gym for a couple of weeks with this sciatica, and finally this week decided to, or last week I think I got back into the gym. Decided to get things going again. Just gotta rip through it, man.
Yeah, getting back in the routine, get back in the flow. It gets you in a better mood. It gets you in a more joyful mood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is no longer an Arizona Cardinal. I'm going to have you rip it. I'm going to ask you a question. What does this do to this guy's legacy?
Well, I guess first we got to define what the legacy is, right? And so when you look back at Kyler Murray's career with the Arizona Cardinals, came in hot, rookie of the year, couple Pro Bowls. Mm-hmm. So, a lot was really made of Kyler Murray early on, and the expectations continued to grow.
Yeah.
Coming in, winning the Heisman Trophy and being the first pick overall, and then coming into the NFL and really putting together some exceptional individual seasons early on.
No doubt.
There was high expectations for him, and unfortunately, there was moments of brilliance, moments of obviously great athletic plays and performances, but they were couched between a lot of inconsistency. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really kind of his legacy with the Arizona Cardinals. Individually, just unbelievably talented player, made some unbelievable plays that you might never see again. But those plays weren't consistent. They weren't happening all the time consistently, and there's just too much inconsistent play. Now you can blame a lot of it on the defense wasn't up to par. The offensive line wasn't where it should have been.
Sure.
The running game for most of his career was non-existent. So you can point the finger at a lot of things within the organization, but for Kyler Murray, I think his legacy is going to be one of unbelievable brilliance that was unfortunately couched between a lot of inconsistency.
I mean, I would agree with you on pretty much majority of what you said, and unbelievable talent is definitely well stated there. Well, I'm kind of getting for like what his vibe is, for what his career is moving forward, what I kind of feel like I just want to hit on it.
Well, hang on, before we go there,
What?
What do you think his legacy was or is?
Well, if I'm just thinking about all the way back, you're saying 2019, Heisman Trophy winner. He came in ripping off the gate, hot, electric plays, nothing but great, just on the field, exciting football. It kind of it got to the point where I feel like he was going to be our guy. It almost kind of felt like, especially going into that 2021 season where we were going, 9-0, 10-0 that year, and then we kind of hit a drought going into the back end of the season and squeak into the wild card, and we lost in the first round versus the Rams. So up to that point, I think is where I started to question Kyler. But overall legacy, like you said, he was great for the time he was here. He just wasn't our guy. So, it's time for him to move on. It's best for all parties.
Yeah, and in looking back at the comments in some of our previous podcasts, you can see where the fan base is split on Kyler.
For sure.
And there are a lot of people that are huge Kyler Murray fans, and they will defend him to the end of the earth. And, I understand that. I get it. Just an unbelievable talented player, a great athlete. I'm not sure he's a great quarterback.
Yeah. He definitely wants to compete. He definitely wants to work hard. But does he want it more than the other side? I don't know. I didn't feel that all the time. That wasn't a consistent thing.
I'll put it this way. I think if this past season, if Kyler Murray would have had the season that Jacoby Brissett had, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, because look, it was a make or break season for Kyler. We said it going into last year. Everybody said it that 2025 was going to be a make or break season for Kyler Murray.
Sure.
He really had to prove it, and he just didn't. And it's nothing against Kyler. I wish him well, and I think he will do well. I think he has the opportunity now because he's getting cut. I think he has the opportunity to find a nice landing spot for himself and put himself in a situation where the offense and the team surrounding him maybe will be in a little bit better place than where the Arizona Cardinals have been.
Yeah, and segueing into where will he land next? Obviously the big two names that have been floating around, definitely Minnesota. So Minnesota's been kind of that talk of the talk recently. We're seeing a lot come from New York, the Jets. I have down here the Steelers, because we don't know what Rodgers is doing over there. That's a big question mark. We don't know what he's doing. Atlanta, Miami. There's a lot of places where he can end up. I don't think he's a backup quite yet. I think he's still a starter in this league. I believe he has the talent to be a starter. That's why I kind of go back to he's given me kind of Sam Darnold vibes a little bit now in his career, where he has the talent, he has the playmaking abilities, but I believe if he's actually in the right system, he's got the line, he's got the receivers, and he has the coach like O'Connell in Minnesota, I think he can be a lethal weapon.
Okay, so of those teams that you just mentioned, where do you think the best opportunity is for him to go in and start from day one?
It's got to be Minnesota, because look at Minnesota's starter, J.J. McCarthy. I know J.J. has
struggled. Yeah,
injuries really took a toll on him, and he hasn't. Now when J.J. did start, he went 6-4 in the 10 games he played, but it's too uncertain right now. And Kyler's a seasoned vet at the quarterback position. Now, I don't really see J.J. learning a lot from Kyler. I don't see that mentor-mentee role ever being a thing, but Minnesota, in my opinion, I've discussed this morning with a client, I think Minnesota is in a good position to win a lot of football games. They have the coach, they got the defense, they have the line, they have the receivers. That quarterback is they got rid of Darnold. Look what Darnold went and did with Seattle. So I think Kyler really fits well into that. Now, I know New York can kind of do what they did with Fields, sign him for like a 2-year deal, right? And for whatever, and kind of see what they can work with that. But I think Minnesota is my number one spot.
Well, the great thing for any one of those teams that is thinking about picking up Kyler Murray is they can get him for the veteran minimum, perhaps $1.3 million. The Cardinals are on the hook for $35 plus million of his salary. So Kyler's chilling. He's going to be making close to $40 million next year, and really only $1 million, 1.3 goes against whoever picks him up. So that in and of itself, I think, is an amazing opportunity, and it puts Kyler, I think, it elevates him above, I think, Malik Willis, because that's a quarterback that it looks like the market's going to be $20+ million a season for Malik Willis.
Where do you think Kyler will end up? Where's your number one spot?
Well, here's a thought that I put to you this morning in the gym, and to me it makes sense, but I don't know that Kyler would go for it, or the team that I'm going to suggest would go for it, but I think the LA Rams make a lot of sense.
Very interesting.
Stafford is going to come back, but you don't know for how long. You got to imagine a year, maybe 2. But that would be a great environment for Kyler to put himself in, to learn from Stafford, obviously to learn from Sean McVay, and to be in that system where you got an unbelievable defense. The offense is clicking, and you have all the weapons that you could think of. And it's just a system, and it's proven. Sean McVay is an unbelievable coach, and I think that would be a great opportunity for Kyler to go in, sit, and learn, and really just kind of start from scratch. Now it's going to take him to check his ego at the door,
no doubt, no doubt.
So I don't know if that's really feasible, but I love that idea. That's number one. Where I think he'll land, I'm kind of with you with Minnesota. Atlanta's interesting, but I think Minnesota makes a lot of sense. Well, the good news is Kyler's going to have a lot of suitors, more so than obviously the trade route didn't work out. People just didn't want to inherit that contract, but with that contract being nullified and him potentially getting signed for the veteran minimum, there's going to be a lot of suitors for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are, no doubt. Well, okay, so back to the Cardinals. Next quarterback situation, where I'm kind of just going to lead off with, and I'm going to address it right now because it gets me seeing red. I know you've been wanting me to say that, so I'm going to say it right now, and this is what's getting me seeing red. Jimmy Garoppolo, get that name off the board. Erase it. Cross it out. No, thank you. Absolutely not. Not happening. That is taking 3 steps backwards to take 2 steps forward, in my opinion. And I don't even want to hear the whole... He's been with LaFleur for 5 seasons. He knows the system. He knows how to operate. I heard Bick on 98.7 say that he'll know the system pretty well, so least mistakes possible. He's just going to be an efficient quarterback in the pocket. When's the last time he started in a game? I mean, I want 2023. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, that is not what we should be talking about here. We should be talking about what's most important for the team, and that's developing the offense and defensive line. And we keep someone that we already have under contract, like Brissett. Or I'd rather invest into Willis at that point, because Jimmy Garoppolo is not what's going to be the difference maker, in my opinion, for the Arizona Cardinals.
I'll tell you what's got me seeing red is this quad right now. I mean, it's fantastic.
I mean, couldn't you just tell that was hitting the bloodstream just then?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, this is...
I'll say this about Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know if that rumor was floated with the intent of him being a starter. I could see Jimmy Garoppolo coming in, being a backup, being an extra coach in the quarterback room.
Okay.
You're right. He hasn't started in a while and hasn't really been a key contributor in a while, but he still has value, I think. Obviously, his knowledge of the system, his knowledge of Mike LaFleur and how he coaches and how he puts together a game plan, I can see him having value, especially to a young quarterback. If the Cardinals decide to draft a quarterback this year in the draft, somebody like a Jimmy Garoppolo who knows the system inside and out, he could be a huge asset, because getting tips and getting advice from a player is a lot different than from a quarterback coach. It's just different. It comes off different. It comes from a player's perspective, And there is a lot of value in that if he's in that role.
Yeah, there is. And we saw a clear example that popped in my head was Rodgers with Jordan Love. Love learning under Rodgers for so many years, and then when it was time for Rodgers to depart, Love came in, stepped up, and executed right off rip. I mean, perfect investment. Learned under him for 3-4 years, and then he became that starter. And
so, I'll tell you, Green Bay has that down to a science, right? They had Brett Favre for forever, and they finally decided that, hey, we're going to draft a quarterback here, and tremendous value at the end of the first round. We get Aaron Rodgers, who slipped in that draft. He was thought to have been one of the top picks, if not the top pick, and that went to Alex Smith. But Aaron Rodgers slipped in the draft. Green Bay picked him up. He sat for 3 or 4 years, I think, 2 or 3 at least, and learned under Brett Favre. And then he took over, and they did the same thing, as you said, with Jordan Love. So Green Bay really understands and has done a remarkable job of picking quarterback talent and grooming them in the right way.
Right, and I wouldn't mind picking up Willis if I know he's really hot on the market right now, and but only for the right price, right? I mean, I know he's going to be asking for a lot, and rightfully so. I mean, when the time he was with Green Bay and the footage we have of him, he really stepped up and he proved that he's a good quarterback when it matters, and so. I mean, back to what I said with Kyler, with the whole 2-year thing with Justin Fields, I feel like we can kind of do something like that with Willis, sign him for 2 years, maybe something around $40 million or more. I know he's probably going to be asking for way more, but I wouldn't go anything over. Nothing over 30, 40 million. I mean, we got to establish what's most important, and that's hands in the dirt.
Well, yeah, and the teams that need a quarterback. What is going to be their cap situation? Are they going to be able to put forth that kind of money that Malik Willis is going to demand? I don't know. I just don't know how many teams are going to be willing or able to do that. So the Cardinals certainly will, and they can make some additional moves now before it gets to the point where they can move some players and cut some players and really free up some cap space. So they got a little bit more flexibility than a lot of teams.
It's going to be interesting to see in these next few weeks and few months what the quarterback scenario is going to happen all over the NFL. So it's going to be super, super exciting. We just wrapped up the NFL Combine this past weekend. And obviously some big notable names that the Arizona Cardinals have to look into with having picked 3, but who stood out in the NFL Combine? Obviously, Jeremiah Love did. He came in as the top prospect out of the NFL Combine. He just showed ridiculous numbers all the way through. David Bailey, Francis Mauigawa, Spencer Fano. I mean, these names that the Cardinals need are super important, and they established it pretty well in the Combine. Do you have I know you're big on, and I am too, Ruben Bain Jr., really huge on him coming out of the Combine, or he wasn't even in the Combine, but just big in general. Out of the guys that did compete in the Combine, are you taking any favorites?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the Miami guys, Francis Mauigawa and Ruben Bain did not participate in the Combine. They said it was because, they played in the national championship game, and I don't know. I think that's
soft?
I think that was a little weak.
A little soft?
I think they should have participated, but that's their decision and it's their right. They're both going to get drafted high in this draft
for sure.
So the guys that did participate, I thought David Bailey really did a great job, just in terms of his numbers, running 4.5 or maybe slightly under. Mm-hmm. I thought he really showed what he was capable of. And I think he'll be drafted high. I don't even know if he'll be available by the time the Cardinals pick. He might go number 2. You mentioned Jeremiah Love, fantastic. He's probably the number 1 football player in this draft, and just in terms of overall rating, in terms of athleticism and what he can bring to a team. He obviously won't get drafted number 1.
Right.
And we can have that discussion about will the Cardinals draft him at number 3, but he is certainly somebody that has opened a lot of eyes, and there will be some teams clamoring for him. And then, I thought Fano, the tackle from Utah, I thought he did really well in terms of the drills and what he was doing out there on the field.
Well, back to Jeremiah Love. Okay, I'm kind of thinking about this, right? How would we, and this is a question for you, how would we make that work if we took Love, right? My opinion, we keep Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett. Maybe we trade the third, fourth pick, or we trade what we have to move up a little bit to get another offensive lineman or a tackle, D-tackle. What do you think? How would that work? How would that pan out a little bit if we went with Love at 3?
You said trade up.
I mean, trade down. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, if you got Jeremiah Love, you'd probably need to stay at 3 to get him. I think he'll go certainly before 9 with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they would be loving to get him. They might even, in fact, trade up to somehow get a hold of him. But if the Cardinals pick Jeremiah Love at 3, a couple things would have to happen for that to be the case. They would have to make a big push in free agency before the draft in terms of shoring up the offensive line.
Sure.
I think they would have to make a splash in free agency in that respect. And if they do that, then, I could see Jordan Love being a potential pick at number 3. If the Cardinals aren't going to do that, if they don't address offensive line in free agency, I mean, beyond a role player, a backup, I'm talking about meaningful starters. I think the Cardinals they could potentially trade down and pick up additional picks. Now, you got to find a trade partner. You got to find somebody willing to trade up. But I do think there is a lot of interest in Jeremiah Love, and the thought being that a team would want to trade up in order to get him. Yeah.
So, I mean, talking the draft and where I stand, really, I mean, I think we just stay at 3. I think we stay at 3, and ultimately we go with the offensive defensive. Now, you mentioned last episode, which was super interesting, that the offensive linemen, you think with Francis and Fano, are a little high at 3. I wouldn't mind if we ripped a David Bailey. I mean, because if getting a hand in the dirt, we need an edge rusher and we need a right tackle. So flip a coin.
Yeah. So if you're not drafting for need, but you're drafting best available, then Jeremiah Love makes sense at 3.
Yep.
David Bailey makes sense at 3. And you get beyond that, and some guys start to have red flags, and you can't draft a player at number 3. You can't draft a player with any red flags, in my opinion. They have to be near flawless. They have to be almost perfect. And you look at Francis Maunoa. His red flag to me is that, and I'll put Fano in this as well. People have projected them to eventually move into guard at some point, and I just don't want to take a guard at number 3. They are right now, they're rated like 12 to 14 in terms of overall players in this draft. Mm-hmm. So you don't take a player who's rated 12. You don't take them up at 3. You just don't. And the Cardinals have a lot of needs, positional needs, that they can't afford to do that. They can't afford to miss on a number 3. They can't afford to take a guy like a Ruben Bain. I love Ruben Bain, and I would probably draft him because I love him so much. Mm-hmm. But he's got a huge red flag, and that's his arms and arm length. And you can't, at number 3, you can't take a guy like that, because in the event that he doesn't have an outstanding rookie season, he doesn't have 8+ sacks in his rookie season, there's going to be a lot of fingers pointed back at Monty Ossenfort saying, "Why did you draft the guy with the short arms?"
Yeah, he can't live with that.
And I think Monty's already on thin ice right now, and this would be throwing him and a boulder into the lake as well. And so you can't take a chance when you potentially could have David Bailey sitting right there.
I also relate it back to kind of the flashback of, I mentioned it last episode, missing Will Anderson Jr., and at the time, I was like, okay with Paris Johnson Jr. And you know what? I am on Paris Johnson Jr. He's my guy. I'm for him. Do I have the thought that if we had to retract time, do I go with the Will Anderson? I mean, yes, obviously. Will Anderson Jr. hasn't been dealing with injuries. Paris Johnson Jr. has. So who's been the healthier player? Will Anderson Jr. has. Who's been more impactful player? I mean, Houston's had top 5 defense last year. So, and Will Anderson Jr. was just on the charge for that D lineman. But I'm okay with the Paris Johnson Jr. We need someone on the opposite side of him. You say the short arms, people are kind of talking that Fano's got shorter arms, and
yes, he does.
And that's kind of a problem too. That's that red flag you're saying. So then do we go with Francis? I mean, I'm not going to be ultimately upset if we go with Francis.
No, I'm not.
It's a good pick.
Look, I wouldn't be upset with either one of those because, as I mentioned before, my draft philosophy is if your hand's not in the dirt, I'm not drafting you, right?
Yeah.
As the Arizona Cardinals, because that's where they need the most help, in my opinion, is in the trenches, and that's where you build teams. You build from the inside out. And Fano, yeah, he's got short arms, but he's got unbelievable feet. And if you watched him in any of those on-field drills during the combine, he was awesome. Just the way he moves and the ferocity that he exhibits with his punch.
Oh, yeah.
He's a guy that is going to be an excellent pro. I don't know if he's all pro. I don't know if he should be. I don't think he should be taken at number 3. But if the Cardinals pick him, if they pick Mauanoa, I'm okay with that. I am.
I mean, we do desperately need that right tackle. I mean, just a quick stat right here. Last year, I mean, with Jonah Williams and Calvin Beachum, I mean, we ranked 29th in Pro Football Focus pass blocking efficiency rating, gave up 236 pressures on 746 snaps. So, I mean, that's a desperate area of improvement for the Cardinals, and that needs to be addressed immediately. I mean, it's just the soft word I would use.
Yeah, the question is just going to be, is that going to be addressed in free agency or is that going to be addressed in the draft? Now, there's some really good tackles that may slip into the second round that the Cardinals potentially could get. The tackle from Arizona State, there's a tackle from Memphis. So there's some good quality football players that can be found and be had in the second, third rounds.
Yeah, the draft is right around the corner, and we're going to stay on our toes and stay excited for that. Cardinals news, we just hired senior defensive assistant Terrell Austin. He was a former Cardinals DB coach, and he was also the former Steelers defensive coordinator. What are your initial thoughts on the hire?
Yeah, so I love it. So he brought him in as a senior consultant or senior assistant. It's something that the Cardinals haven't had in recent years, and they've really missed that. They've needed it on both sides of the football. And I think you have it on the offensive side with Hackett. So, but to bring Austin back, he was as you mentioned, he was a defensive back coach with the Cardinals. But to bring him back into the fold with all his experience as a defensive coordinator, as a play caller, I think he's a tremendous resource for Rallis. And it's somebody that he can really lean on. Obviously, the last few years he's had Jonathan Gannon to lean on, but can make the argument that maybe that wasn't a good thing as they played very passively throughout his tenure. Now,
you mentioned to me off air that you believe he can help out Nick Rallis a little bit and help guide him just a little bit in the defensive roles. Where do you think he will help Rallis with how Rallis is as a coordinator?
Well, he can help him in a variety of ways. Just number one, how to best utilize the assets that they have, how to best position the players to be successful. I think that's as important as anything. Obviously, in his years of being a defensive coordinator at different spots, he's learned a lot, and he has a lot of different schematically different plays and scenarios that he can share with Nick Rallis and help him. And then just situational stuff like in season and in game, even how things are flowing, how things are going. I think he's going to be a tremendous resource for Nick Rallis.
Awesome. Quick little intermission. I need a quick little quad.
Yeah. Me too. Cheers.
Cheers on that. This episode is brought to you by Quads.
Quad Squad.
Well, while we're on the Quad Squad halftime report, I want you guys, if you haven't yet already and you made it this far in the video, subscribe to the Seein Red Podcast, turn on the bell for more notifications, give a like to this video. If you haven't seen our previous episodes, make sure you give those a watch too. This is our 7th episode currently. And make sure you guys give us a follow on Instagram, TikTok, X for all of our short form content and daily news updates. Pops will respond to you in the comments, so comment down below with questions you guys have, and that's going to segue into our next topic, which is the Q&A. I'm sorry I didn't put down the usernames for the questions, but I have the questions dialed up.
Okay.
The first one I'm going into, this is for you, Pops. What are scouts looking for from players in the combine? This goes for general managers and coaches as well.
Well, obviously the combine, I've mentioned it before, the biggest part of the combine for me, and I think for all the teams, is really the medical piece, is to make sure all the questions that you might have about a particular player are answered health-wise. Make sure you can clear them in your physical, and if not, then you at least know why. So you do all the testing there and do all that. There's a lot of things there. I hear a lot of people kind of bagging on the combine, like it's not indicative of what it means to be a football player. Okay, fine, you're right, and I admit this. The number one thing about identifying a good football player is watching him play football.
Yeah,
right. But the combine does have value. In the interviews, I think you can find out a lot about a guy. You look him in the eye and tell whether or not he truly loves football and understands football. You can get up on the grease board and draw up plays, draw up defenses, draw up offenses, and just kind of gauge their understanding of football and how it's played. So there's value in that. And then the on-field stuff, that has a lot of value. Not so much the 40-yard dash. Yeah, you want guys to be fast, and you want that. Probably the 10-yard split is more important in football. Football traditionally is not played in 40-yard increments. It's more within a 10-yard kind of window. So that is important, and the 20-yard shuttle obviously has importance in terms of quickness and your jumps and all that. But the on-field. The on-field drills, they do have value. You're given an opportunity to see how fluid guys' hips are. If they're tight-hipped, you kind of know that's going to limit them in terms of what kind of a football player they're going to be.
Sure.
But just their fluidity, kind of in and out of cuts. I go back to when I was at the Combine in 1994. And I did all of the measurement drills, the 40, the 20-yard shuttle, the broad jump, the vertical jump, and I did all that. And then we move over to the on-field drills, right? And so if you watched any of the combine, you saw, I'll just talk about the linebackers because that's what I know, but you saw the linebackers, they would do drills where, they are dropping back into coverage one direction, and the scout or the coach would change them into another direction. So they'd change their hips in another direction. Then maybe he'd pull them up, and the player would go forward, and then a quarterback would throw him the ball. Now those quarterbacks, I don't know if you know that, but the quarterbacks throwing the balls, you see them in all the drills. Those are actually actual quarterbacks, prospects that are there in the combine. For the quarterback position. So those quarterbacks are being seen, and they're throwing balls. So back to 1994, I was doing these drills, and I dropped to this side. This is my first drill. I dropped to this side, and then I dropped to that side, and then I come up to catch a ball. I'm thinking, this quarterback's just going to kind of soft toss one, like you see on TV now. You see the quarterbacks kind of soft tossing them. Well, this wasn't like a top quarterback, right? This wasn't like one of the guys that was going to go in the first or second round. This was a lower tiered quarterback, guy by the name of Gus Frerotte. And I don't know where Gus Frerotte was from. I think Tulsa or something, But this freaking guy, he thinks he's John freaking Elway, and I break on the ball, and he throws an absolute tomahawk missile at my sternum too. Right? And if you know anything about football, you know that's probably the worst place for a receiver to catch a ball because it's awkward. Right? It's like it's too low to catch it with your hands, but you don't want to catch it with your body, and so it's an awkward location. And this thing was humming. I caught it and it knocked the wind out of me, and like my whole sternum was bruised, and I think I still have Wilson printed on my sternum from Gus freaking Farad. If you're out there, Gus, I want to talk to you, man. It's like, I'm like, dude, this is a linebacker drill. This ain't the Gus Farad drill here. This guy thought he was John Elway. It was ridiculous, man. He was the only one doing it. All the other quarterbacks are throwing to the other linebackers, and they're throwing them nice little easy ones, catching it over here and over here. And I'm getting Scud missiles thrown at my pelvis. It's like, what the hell is going on here?
Oh my gosh, that's good.
Yeah, I caught it though. I caught it.
Good man.
Yeah, like I said, it knocked the wind out of me, but yeah.
What are you doing, Gus? Wait your turn here.
He thinks he's Jeff George or something.
Do you know where he went or no?
He played in the league for a while. I think he played for the Redskins, and then I kind of lost track of him. But
okay.
I always I followed him, man. I don't like that guy.
No, that's awesome. I know someone mentioned in the comments of last video, what are your thoughts on Rodriguez as an inside linebacker? What are your quick little thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Rodriguez out of Texas Tech, he had a phenomenal year last year. He had 7 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions. I think he had 15 forced fumbles in his career. So this guy's got the punch down. I mean, that's an NFL technique. You see a lot of players on a lot of teams punching the ball out. And it's really effective. Well, he's got it down to a science in college, and he really did a remarkable job. Not beyond that, though, he really is an instinctive linebacker. Just the way he plays, the manner in which he plays, and he plays with speed, and he understands how to read plays and how to diagnose plays. So his football acumen is high. I really like him. He did really well at the combine. I think he ran a 4.57. I think he ran a 20-yard shuttle in 4.19, somewhere around there.
Yep.
Like I said, it's not 3.93.
No, not even close.
No, and that's fine. But he's a good player. The one knock on Rodriguez is his size, right? He's just a little undersized, 220 pounds, 6'1". So he's a little bit undersized, but he's a guy that, again, he's got good speed, he's got good instinct, and he has a knack for finding the ball and getting the ball. You can't coach that. So that's an ability that he has that I think it will translate to the next level. I'd love to get him maybe in a mid-round if we can. 3rd or 4th round, maybe 5th round. He won't be there in the 5th. And honestly, the way he performed at the combine and his tape, he might not be there in the 3rd round.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a position that the Cardinals will always need. So we'll have our eyes on him coming into the draft. We're going to wrap up here, kind of talking about the NFLPA report card and kind of just the initial thoughts on it when we first took a look at it. I have it pulled up here. I mean, and going through
read them off
the NFLPA scorecard. So, treatment of families for the Arizona Cardinals was a D+. The home game field was a B. The food and dining area C-. Nutritionist and dietitian was a B. Locker room was an F-. Training room was a D+. Training staff was a B-. Weight room D+. Strength coaches and position coaches were both B- and B+. Offensive coordinator B-. Defensive coordinator C+. Take that. That's interesting there. Special teams coordinator B. Also interesting. The team travels a C+. The head coach was a B+. General manager was a B. Team ownership was an F. Now, before you unpack it, let me just give my initial thoughts as a fan looking at this report card. Okay, I'm a logical guy. I look at the position coaches, the offensive coordinator, the special teams coordinator, and the head coach. We're all a B to B plus. Okay? And even the general manager was a B. Those were the people that we got rid of. So that kind of correlates back to the team ownership being an F. So why, I have no idea. Maybe you can give me the deets on that and break that down for me. But to me, that makes zero sense.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to throw dirt on the grave, but when Jonathan Gannon was fired, there was a lot of people around the league that were scratching their heads a little bit about that. They couldn't quite understand it, given the injuries and the amount of injuries that the Cardinals had, and just kind of what the cards that he was dealt. But here's the reality: the Cardinals won 3 games, and there's got to be a scalp. Somebody's got to get fired. Somebody's got to be held accountable for that. And the owner's not going to fire himself.
No.
So somebody's head's got to roll. It was decided that the development of players was the reason why the team most likely didn't succeed in the last 3 years versus the talent on the field or lack of talent on the field. That apparently was not the issue. Otherwise, Monty Osfort would have also been fired. So,
right.
Apparently the consensus or the decision was players weren't developed, they weren't utilized in the right way, and that's the reason. And so that's the scalp that we got to take.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is just another thing for the Arizona Cardinals, these type of reports. I mean, I hope we see improvement in the next,
I will say
2 to 5 years.
I will say this, ahead of this report card, and really, I think last year's report card has had a part, I think, in some respect, to the Cardinals deciding to break ground on a new training facility in North Phoenix. I think that is an important thing.
There's the positive.
That's not nothing. I mean, that is a big endeavor, and that's a big thing for this team, because you're changing your entire program in terms of just the training and the rehab and the meeting rooms. All of that is going to be new and upgraded, and they should have the best of the best facilities going forward.
All right. Well, you have any closing thoughts? Anything off the top of the head?
Well, again, I thought the combine, which just finished, was overall the fastest combine per position group in history of the combine.
That's right.
And so the athletes keep getting bigger and faster and better, and it's fun to watch and see how these guys develop. It'll be fun to watch, to really follow these young men and see how they develop going forward. And then we got a lot coming up. The new league year starts next week, and so that'll really decide, in terms of free agency, which direction the Cardinals go in the draft as well.
Well, if you guys need a location for that new news, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X at Seein Red Podcast. And make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, Seein Red Podcast on YouTube. Turn on the bell for more notifications, and we'll see you in the next one.